right.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Happy February.
Oh,
It's supposed to be
gosh.
50 degrees next week.
Next week? I
Next
heard that
week,
was this
we're going to
week.
bring shorts out. Can you,
Do I got schmutz on me?
there's just a little fuzzy in your
Oh,
hair?
fuzzy.
Oh, you found it. You found it.
Okay.
You found it.
I wanted to start off by sharing a quotation.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay. Hey, girlfriend.
Lois Lowry, the author, put this in the 20th anniversary edition in her introduction.
Okay.
And I just really,
Okay.
it was very helpful for me. She said, "The important thing is that another medium, stage, film, music, doesn't obliterate a book. The movie is here now on the big screen with stars and costumes and a score. But the book has not gone away. It has simply grown up, grown larger, and begun to glisten in a new way."
Ooh.
Isn't that good?
Whoa, yeah.
That helped me so much to like let it be what it is.
Oh, yeah. I thought that would make you more angry about it.
No, I felt like she was being like a grandmother, like
It's okay.
rubbing my back and saying it's okay, and
Like,
I'm okay that it's
I'm
different.
okay. You have your book. The book is still here. Don't think that like it's
Exactly.
gone just because you didn't love this version.
Yeah, just
this
because they
retelling
went a
of
little
it.
different.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All
well,
right, let's get going.
let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Watchers. My name is Ariel.
And I am Chelsea.
And Book Watchers is a show for people who like to watch books that have been made into movies.
Yes, watch books that have been made into movies.
I put that in the show description.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Me likey.
So today's book is The Giver. I
Yes.
actually brought it with me. And I brought the old cover.
That's the only cover I know.
There's sorry guys, I keep touching my mic. There's a new cover.
She's a newbie.
I know. There's a new cover for the anniversary edition when they came out with the movie. Mm-hmm. But this is the one that was sitting on my classroom bookshelf in 1994. So this is the copy that I own. Speaking of 1994, this book was originally published in 1993.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah, so I was, probably at that time I was 2, unless it came out after October, but not 2. Yes, I was 2.
Nope.
Oh, so this
3 unless it came out. 2 unless it came out after October. Yeah.
And it wasn't on my bookshelf in 1994. In 2004, it was on my bookshelf. Wow, this has been out a lot longer than I was alive. The movie came out in 2014.
Okay.
So it was 20 years later.
Yep.
And to keep things interesting in the format of the show, I have read the book and I have seen the movie. I read the book a lot. Chelsea has only seen the movie.
That's technically a lie. I read the book in school.
Forgot.
It was required reading sometime in middle school.
And you didn't like it?
I don't remember liking it.
You know what? I don't know how this is a kid's book. So I think being young, it is
young adult.
Best book for young adults, notable book for children. It has a Newbery Award, which is children's literature. School Journal, best book of the year. It's young adult, but maybe at that time in 1993, they were like young adult and children are similar.
But it's also like on the banned books list.
Oh, is it?
For violent and sexually suggestive content.
Oh, I can see why that would.
Which
I think
I haven't read it, so I'm only thinking of the movie. And the movie, I'm like,
no. I think there's imagery in this book that I actually did sit with my modern perspective and go, I could see how this could be misinterpreted.
Well,
like the relationship with the giver and Jonas's relationship at the House of the Old.
Right.
There's a lot of like children and old people, and there's nudity, and I can see how people would read it incorrectly.
I would have thought it was more of the Jonas and Fiona of it all, but is that
that's not in the book. we're going to talk about that.
Great.
It is not about Jonas and Fiona. I am
Giona, as I call them.
That's their ship name. Giona.
Giona. Someone's named that in the world, I bet.
Well, yeah, probably. Yeah. Someone in the world is named Giona.
This has a 4.1 out of 5 on Goodreads. It's pretty good.
Giona is a Hebrew girl name. Oh, and then there's Gianna. But
anyway, I want to let you get to it before I just start spouting out everything I liked about the movie and all the people I find attractive.
I was going to say, it did sound like you liked the movie.
I did.
Yep. I figured you would when I watched it. And I actually did like the movie as well. Even though I am a stickler for things being book accurate, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. We'll get a little bit more into that because I have a question I want to throw at you. But I want to get people in the vibe. In case you guys need a refresher, here's my synopsis. This is Ariel's synopsis. I kind of get weird about not giving you too many spoilers. So I know Chelsea's
everything.
Like, I'll spoil the whole movie. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna talk around it.
If we're going, whatever.
Oh, it's irrelevant because the entire show is a spoiler.
Yeah, that's why
I'm like, wow, for some reason, when I write these, I just go, don't spoil it in case they want to read it. And it's like, okay, just tell them everything afterwards. So, all right, a dystopian novel. The Giver is centered around a world that is dedicated to sameness. Humans have been able to eliminate differences and now live without pain, suffering, or conflict. Jonas, our main character, has just been assigned a job he will perform in society. He has been given the highest honor in the community, the role of the receiver. When the community moved to sameness, they assigned a receiver who they transfer all their memories to. This way they can still benefit from the wisdom of history, but no one besides the receiver has to live with the pain of the memories. When the receiver grows old, he transfers these memories to a new receiver and in turn becomes the giver. When Jonas is assigned the receiver, he begins to understand a reality outside of his everyday life, and we watch Jonas gain wisdom through experience. Though Jonas began his journey happily living by the rules, he quickly realizes that though his community is safe, he would risk everything so that the people can feel love.
Boom. Full body chills.
I know. Isn't that good?
It was really good.
To say that it's only about feeling love, that's kind of an oversimplification, but it sounded so good when I wrote it.
No, and I mean, arguably love would be the root of all the other feelings you get in the world, right?
I agree with you, and I think that's what propels him. Like, he wouldn't want people to feel pain.
The war?
Yeah. Oh. He does want them to feel more depth. And that's like a frustration of him that he realizes that everybody, like at one point Asher gets mad at him and he goes, but he knows that Asher isn't even feeling what mad is. He's feeling half of what mad is.
Everything's muted.
Exactly.
Hence the color palette.
Yes, which is actually something I don't talk about really at all, even though I think it's pivotal, but I noticed in my notes, I'm like, I don't really bring it up. But yes, they all see in black and white in this town.
I don't know why, but I always thought on the cover the Giver had blue eyes.
Well, because the Giver does have blue eyes.
I know, but I thought the cover was black and white except the blue.
Maybe
I made that up in my head. Maybe. Well, look.
The Mandela effect. I don't know.
Yeah, I just made some stuff up in life.
Let's find out how many hundreds of other people remember this book having blue eyes, and then we'll know.
Reddit.
We were averted from nuclear war or something. But anyway. Yes, when he becomes the giver, when he becomes the receiver and starts receiving the memories from the giver, he begins to see color all the way. And that's how they know also that he should be a receiver because he can see beyond. Mm-hmm. And his seeing beyond is seeing color. And his first color that he sees is red. Mm-hmm. And I am in a squeaky chair, so we're going to pause for a second so I can switch my chair.
Yep. Still look beautiful.
Do I still look good? Mm-hmm. Good, okay. Actually, one thing that they do in the movie, you know how they play music?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they don't do that in the book, but we do know that the Giver says when he was starting to see beyond, he at the beginning is like, I started a little differently than you did. And at the end, Jonas is like, what was it that was different? He says, I didn't start seeing the beyond. I started hearing the beyond.
Ooh,
I know. This book is just so brilliantly beautiful.
Watching the movie and your love for it has made me decide that I'm going to reread it. But I obviously wanted to wait till after we did this. Yeah. So that, I could format. Go in as blind as possible.
All right. So with the story laid out, I want to start the discussion with a comparison of the physical world that they live in.
Cool.
So for me, they really nailed the environment. So like all the dwellings being identical, everything's very clean and pristine. It gives off this like cohesive orderliness. Everything is nice, and it's pretty. And what did you, okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing was I was like, oh, black and white, man. But I knew that was part of it. I knew they didn't see color. But yeah, it looked kind of like what you'd imagine like the little towns in like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood looked like, where it's just like these perfect little rows and houses and everyone's like on their bike going to and fro and everyone's happy and, I definitely felt that way.
Yeah, I thought they conveyed that really nicely. One humongous error that they make, and I think it's because they want things to be futuristic. I'll talk about that in my next point, but there's no way they'd have this giant arch that people can walk up and stand and look out on. So where they meet atop that arch.
Yes.
Dangerous. They would never do that. That would be such a risk. Someone could slip, someone could fall. That's unsafe.
Right.
Also, I was on this read of the book that I did, I noticed there's a moment where, the scene where Jonas gets on the sled in the memory and he goes down? Mm-hmm. One of the things he says is he's like, I can't describe what happened, and they determine it's downhill. He doesn't know what downhill is, which means the entire landscape's completely flat. No one has ever experienced curve, like other than maybe they have a ramp, but...
Right.
So I was like, so there's no way they'd have that St. Louis arch going across everything.
It did look really fun though when it happened.
When they went down on even though I was like cringing because they're taking these metal trays atop solar panels and I was just like sparks and scraping and oh my God.
I know. Asher made the right choice probably, but.
Oh, Asher. Sweet Asher. But I also think they added that arch because they really wanted to make this futuristic. Mm-hmm. And she did not really do that. So where in the movie they'll have the video screens, they just have speakers on the wall.
Oh, yes, that's right. Mm-hmm. That actually I remember that a little bit.
Yeah, and when Jonas, he gets his daily injection, his daily shot, it's a pill. Mm-hmm. And there's obviously no holograms. She didn't do holograms. She actually really made no attempt to futurize anything.
I also wonder if, maybe that's to a benefit, though. There are some books of that time where the future is, created and it's, we're in it now and we're like, oh, gosh, are you serious? We still don't have flying cars. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So I think, making it feel kind of close.
Yes.
There's something about that almost makes it scarier. Right?
I agree with you. I think there's a timelessness.
Yes.
Because there's no association with time. It's just there's a speaker on the wall. They have bicycles. They take a pill. Pills are timeless. These are, I don't know in 100 years, but you know what I'm saying.
In 100 years, we will be injecting.
We will be.
Our SSRIs will be.
But this book is really stark.
Yeah.
And there's a heaviness that comes from, it's a really, I had the right word, it's a very pensive read. And so not having all this technology keeps you just in the innocence of their world.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Innocence is a really good word for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Don't tell lies.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very, and I go into this, but it's very a childlike society.
Yeah.
In the best way that they could, because some of the things they can't. It's cute when Jonas talks about Fiona having red hair. The giver's like, yep, I've seen her red hair. He's like, I bet the scientists are real upset they couldn't knock that gene out. That's such a good line. Yeah, I don't care if it's an injection or a pill, as long as he's getting something to dull his senses. They could do what they wanted. The bicycles were really important to me. I was a little worried. I was like, please don't get rid of the bicycles, because again, that innocence, they ride bikes everywhere.
And you get your bike when you turn age 9.
Yeah, exactly. And when you when you become a 12, you the nameplate on the back of your bike changes, because now you're a citizen in training. And I was like, yeah.
So are they 16 or 18 when they graduate?
I will get to that one in the next one.
Okay.
I will say at the end of the movie, when they became like motorcycles, I was like, okay, liberties, that's fine. But you know what? The amount of liberties we had taken at that point, I was already buckled in.
I also think like the motorcycles, it didn't feel like that was like what the adults got to ride. It was kind of like what the bad adults got to ride.
That's a good point.
So it was like, oh crap, like.
That's a good point. And there's no bad adults in the book, so.
Oh, good.
Oh, yes, there is one departure that they take that feels insignificant, but for me, it's like it reduces that creepy Big Brother feeling. You know, when they're like outside, you know, in the waterfall, or they're talking, and there's the loudspeakers, and they're like a triangle of 3 loudspeakers, and they're like, citizens are reminded not to
touch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In the book, that's a real person sitting as the speaker. It's an assignment to be the speaker. Oh. And what it's actually doing is making comments on any mistake anyone makes. And it makes it publicly so that you know you're shaming your community. And it's like your first warning. So at one point, when Jonas first starts seeing the color change, he sees it on an apple. He takes the apple home. The speaker points out that people are not allowed to take snacks home, and he knows he's been caught, and so he goes to apologize before he gets in trouble. So I think there was a reduction in the severity of how much they're being watched and how cold it is.
I kind of feel like a metal speaker box feels colder to me than another person.
No, it's a speaker, but it's that was like technology saying, citizens are reminded. This is somebody, like a human, sitting in front of a speaker like you would at an elementary school, and they're just watching and telling on you all day long.
I guess I assumed it was still doing that, because at one point when him and Fiona touch, right as they're touching, it says citizens are reminded to not touch anyone outside their family unit.
But they're allowed to go in the waterfall. They like are always near each other. I'm like, this thing isn't really doing what it's supposed to.
I think if it had done that more, like it did feel targeted.
Yeah,
but it didn't feel like, you're right, it didn't feel like it should have happened a lot more frequently.
Yeah,
to feel like that Big Brother. I agree with you.
I'm gonna go a little bit more into the discipline system in the society that I think is a huge motivator for why people behave the way they behave. But I want to start off with the biggest diversion the plot takes. Let's just get right into the way...
Giona?
Yeah. That's not even the biggest diversion.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So...
I'm
You're buckled? It's buckling? I'm buckled in. So the movie adds a secondary plot line, and that's anything related to the chief elder, Meryl Streep. Her, anytime you see her, except at the original ceremony, it is added.
Oh.
Yes. So she is in the ceremony, and because I'm a nerd, I want to tell you about a little bit about the ceremony.
Please.
So it's every December. Children from 1 to 12 go through and move up in a year in development. So let's say we're both newborns, or as they would call them, we're new children. It's amazing. I was looking, I'm like, why did they say new children? And I'm like, dude, that's a term. That's what she's establishing, is they don't say newborn, they say new children. And let's say you're born in January and I'm born in November. That coming December, we both become ones, because nobody has a birthday in this society. They just have the ceremony. After the ceremonies are done at 12, you no longer keep track of your age. It's irrelevant. So, you know, you can be 11 months older than me. We're both ones at the same time.
Seems unfair.
Right?
Because it's also developmentally, it seems weird.
They mentioned they're like, there's babies who are like being held, and there's babies. There are ones that are being held, and there are ones that are walking. And it's cohesiveness, you know? And okay, this process goes up until 12, and every year you gain or you lose a privilege or an accessibility. So a really good example is when you're a 4, a 5, or a 6, you have a jacket that you wear, because everyone wears uniforms, and it changes depending on where you're at in society. But you wear a jacket that buttons in the back. And the reason it buttons in the back for those 3 years is because you're supposed to learn interdependence. So you can't button your own jacket. You have to rely on other people to button your jacket. When you become a 7, your jacket turns around. You get a new one, and it buttons in the front, so you can learn independence. And so it's like everything that they take you through when you change your age is to help you learn a lesson of how to fit into society.
I feel like the movie kind of blew a montage opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, we could have seen Jonas, like, grow up a little bit. Like, it could have, like, it could have been him standing there and, like, his jacket changing, like, spinning around. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, and they could
have happened, like, very quickly.
They could have gone through the ceremony and actually moved a clip through. Because they do, in the ceremony, they're like, release of the old. And I'm like, well, that doesn't happen at this ceremony, but I understand why you're including it, because
they just put everything together.
There's a whole section about the house of the old and how they treat the old people. Oh yeah, they treat them like children, basically. When your children become 12s and become adults, once they're adults and they move into their own house, you move out of your house and into the home for childless adults. After the home for childless adults, you move to the house of the old. Pretty sure there's no other details that exist. And they use a lot of the same techniques in the house of the old. And one of them is they have release ceremonies. Yeah. But they could have gone a little bit more into that. Yeah. Also, I just remembered, in the ceremony, they count out 100 candidates. So 112s. And, like, Jonas is, like, 50-something. And, yeah. Weird problem to have. There should only be 50, not 100. I didn't understand why they changed it. It didn't feel relevant. Like, I get, like, adding.
Do you know what number he was in?
He's 19.
Oh, so it still would have been the same.
It would have still taken a long time. Like, they were like 50. And I'm like, why did you go ahead when you could have said 19? It's not that important.
No, I get it.
But I was trying to do some quick math to see how many people lived in this society.
Right.
And I think it should be around 4,000 people, which I actually looked up. I couldn't visualize how much 4,000 people. The Aragon Ballroom fills a little bit more than 4,000 people.
Chicago staple.
Yeah. You know, I was like, if I know how many people we can fit in a stadium, I can visualize how many people live in this town. Yeah. But I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was like, why did you change it? Whatever. It doesn't make sense. Who knows? So anyway, the movie and the chief elder. The chief elder does take them through the ceremony. But then the movie's like, let's make her the bad guy, you know? And so she becomes this kind of meddling overseer who really gets in Jonas's business and wants to know everything he's doing with the giver.
A bad adult, like I said.
Yes. And the book doesn't really have a bad guy. It's kind of a bad system, you know? So I can get that, but she doesn't behave in the way I would think somebody in this system would behave. And I feel like every time they made a choice outside of canon, they got a little confused on how people in the society behave. Like, they're so concerned about rules and rudeness. Like, there's rules on rudeness. You're not allowed to call somebody out. You know, you're not supposed to point out anyone's different. And yet the elder comes into Jonas's house via a hologram and just is like, Jonas, what are you doing? Well, how's training going? What's going on in front of his whole family? That would be rude. That would be totally antithetical to how she would behave, and it would lessen her authority.
So I guess the way I interpreted it is there needs to be someone doing all they can to maintain this.
I can see ideally, the thought behind that.
It would have to be the giver who keeps all the memories, and they would be the ones that kind of would make sure that society is behaving as it's supposed to. But I think you need more than that. And so if she's also got her senses dulled and she doesn't know why they're doing anything, then how can she actively enforce this?
Oh, and that's not an issue I have
But
fully. Her conduct is my issue.
Yeah.
And I think the society is enforced in a couple ways. One, they have the council that says everything. So she's just one part of the council. And actually, she's elected every 10 years. So she's not even a staple like the receiver who, may go for a couple decades, I think. Also, they're extremely, it's a system very based on telling on each other and the community enforcing the rules. If you break a rule, it doesn't only affect you, it affects it shames your family, it shames the community. So they've really created a system where they maintain themselves.
So the movie needed a villain,
exactly,
which it wasn't necessarily a necessary choice.
Yeah, and I talk about how I think the writing process kind of unfolded that they would have a villain. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
So we can talk a little bit about Giona and Asher.
Giona.
So let me lay this thing on you.
Yep.
Jonas is 12.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So there's one of the things where I can see how people might get a little weird that he's 12.
I'm glad he was somewhere between 16 and 18.
He needed to be 16 and 18. Fiona is not a romantic interest. In terms, that's wrong. Someone just yelled at me. She is a romantic interest.
Who yelled at you?
Someone in the comments and my own brain. Their name is Ethel, and they yelled at me.
Oh, Ethel's big mad. Sorry, Ethel. Correction corner. They're romantic interests. Jeez.
But there's no kissing, and actually, Fiona. So Fiona's described as gentle. She's kind. She's friends with him and Asher, and she likes to hang out with Asher. There's actually like a comment that like she really likes to have fun. So it makes total sense that she would volunteer at the same place Asher was volunteering because Asher's fun.
So it should be Jasher.
It should be Jasher. That's where they should go.
Ashona.
If these kids could have feelings like that.
Sure, okay.
So did you catch at the end when he's talked about the stirrings? It's one line.
I mean, I remember it, but I don't.
Yeah. So
I don't know what I'm thinking.
This was another thing. They took out dreaming. So in the movie, there's a brief mention that like Jonas, no one's allowed to dream or no one dreams. Mm-hmm. So completely incorrect. So one of the ways that they hold people in check is they have morning and evening rituals in their family. In the morning, you share your dreams. So you tell your entire family what you dreamed about. And they believe that nobody lies. So you have to be honest.
Right.
And so Jonas shares a dream that is it's not sexual, but it's an implied sexual dream about Fiona. And the parents, like his mom takes him aside and she's like, okay, those are the stirrings. And now you're going to take a pill. You're going to take a pill to get rid of the stirrings. Every adult takes a pill to get rid of the stirrings.
So is that to like get rid of hormones?
Yeah, so that you have no sexual interest in anything. So Asher's already on the pill. We don't know if Fiona is, but she would get it too. And actually, the fact that before Jonas becomes the receiver in the movie, he kind of is eyeing Fiona.
Yeah.
No, he would not be eyeing Fiona. He wouldn't even know that was
a thing he could do.
His parents are not romantically, sexually attracted to each other. They're not romantically attracted to each other. They were assigned each other.
Right.
They apply to get spouses. So you have to apply to be given a spouse like you apply to have children. And you might wait years before you get it. But so they're based on compatibility. So their parents have no sexual interaction at all.
Which I figured, yeah.
So Fiona and Jonas and Asher would have none of that. So when they were like, look, he's a teenage boy having teenage boy feelings, I'm like, inaccurate. Yeah. Throw it away.
Wouldn't know.
He would
never
not
seen
know
it.
what's going on. That's why it's such a big deal when he does.
Right.
Because he's like, oh, but Fiona's so pretty. And they're like, great, kill it. Kill the feeling. Asher is, okay, I have a question. What was the impression you got of Asher's character?
That he had he not been like fully muted, he kind of would have been like a class clown or like like almost like a jockey type, like the popular guy in high school was like the vibe I got from him. But like to the extent that you could be in this society, which is like not much.
Not much.
Right.
Yeah.
But like he makes everyone laugh. But at one point he like tells a joke that like I certainly didn't understand what Jonas and Asher were. I was Fiona, where she was like, what? And he was like, haha, he's so funny. And I was like, okay, for you guys.
Yeah, for you and
it's
your
like
society.
It's like when you first heard Why'd the Chicken Cross the Road? And you're like, oh my God, best joke ever. And then you're like 25 and you're like, oh gosh, what is that? How is that even a joke?
Yeah, okay.
So that was the vibe I got, that he was kind of like this, he would be a hot shot.
Yeah.
If you could be,
I get
but he's not.
And that makes sense. You know, he becomes a pilot, and then he ends up being kind of our like bad guy tool person. You know, he's like a tool for the bad guys. He's
right. Yes.
I don't think he's a bad guy.
No, and I also think he does. I mean, in the movie, I only have the movie for this.
Of course. When
he releases Jonas, I think he is fully anticipating Jonas will live. Like, I think he was not trying to kill him.
Did not understand how he could let go of a person and a baby into the rapids and think they're gonna live.
But he was like, come on, Jonas. I don't know if he even saw him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he let him go and then went away.
But he kept going like, come on. And I was like, why are you saying this out loud, you idiot? Like, what are we doing? But I think like we're supposed to, the way that I felt was these three characters, maybe it's because of their proximity to Jonas growing up and like his deviation, somewhat deviate with him, whether it's purposeful or not.
Yeah.
So like, they're also, I don't know, able to kind of follow his whims a little.
Yeah, they're kind of a little rebellious because he's a little rebellious.
Yes, and he's not rebellious on purpose. He just, his greater purpose is to like see things.
Yeah, it's a good point. So, not at all what I would think Asher in the book would be.
Cool, okay.
But exactly what I thought Asher in the movie was.
Okay.
When I watched Asher in the movie, I went, am I throwing my bias down in thinking because for me, he seemed kind of like, and this isn't exactly what you said, but like kind of like a bad boy character a little bit. Like he's the one who's kind of gonna, I don't know,
make trouble.
He had more grimaces or like, you know, rough edges than I think the other two. In the book, he's just like, he's kind of an embarrassment. He's a really clumsy kid. He always makes mistakes. I'm pretty sure he has dyslexia because precision of words they always talk about. He never uses the right words. And actually when he gets called up for his assignment, they like talk about like, man, Asher always made mistakes. Do you remember that one time he did this and the entire community like laughs? Like, oh yeah, that one time that Asher made that mistake. Like they actually use a story. They're like, do you remember that time when Asher kept saying smack instead of snack? And the reason, they all laugh, but the reason she chose that specifically, one of the ways they enforce discipline, and they will do this, I'm almost 100% sure, unless my memory is tricking me, they do this from when you are 1 until 12, and then they continue to do it once you go to the house of the old, is they have the discipline wand. And so you get smacked on the hand once if you make a mistake, smacked 3 times on the legs if you make it again. And on your third mistake in society, you are released. I do not think they do that with children, but as adults, it's like you get called out on the speaker, you get called out by the council, and then you get released.
And to confirm, released is euthanized.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. Now, they don't know that. They think you get let out to elsewhere. Someone comes and picks you up and moves you to a new community.
Right.
That's why people are like, oh, you know, maybe I'll apply to be released. And it's like, oh, I'll apply to go move to another community because I don't fit in. Yeah. You know, one guy, he was different, and he applied to be released. But so Asher, he keeps in the lunch line when he's a 3, when they're 3 is when you learn precision of language, he keeps saying he wants his smack instead of he wants his snack. And so they give him a smack. And they do it so many days he stops speaking. And they're like, man, remember when Asher stopped speaking? Good thing he started again. And it's like, wow. And Asher doesn't become awesome, but like,
no.
He gets assigned, his job is assistant recreation director, AKA he's not the director because you can't give Asher in a director position, but he is almost head of games.
Yeah.
You know? And I think the discipline one, they don't talk about, she never talks about anything a lot. But it's those little things that it's like, these people they're beaten into submission.
Yeah.
You know, they're lightly beaten.
Between a pill and physical and mental shame.
Yep.
They submit.
Yeah, and communal shame and things like that. And
I liked Asher as he was.
Oh, yeah. He worked for his purpose in the book.
But I also think, like, I don't know, on the other side of that, it would have made them seem more villainous had they played Asher the way he was supposed to be.
Ooh.
Right?
You are so right, because it would make him really innocent.
They kind of, like, let the rebel bad boy get a cool job. And it's like, no, I kind of want to see the fact that they beat someone into submission and made them not talk.
Exactly.
Like, that's scarier and that's worse.
And that was one question I had when we were going into this. I'm like, what are they going to keep and let go of? Because, yeah, this is for children or youths. It's a scary concept. And there's a lot of things that are scary and off-putting that she delivers so lightly that it can almost float past you, but it adds such a heaviness. I was like, what are they keeping? And what I found is they kept a ton of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, so then why did you even change
the
it?
thing, yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. And I think it was, they wanted to make it more accessible to a younger audience, so they wanted an action movie. And
it needs to be a little more exciting. And there needs to be higher stakes. If Asher, like, saves his life over the cliffs.
My hope is that some independent company takes it, like gets the rights, you know, because we do so many remakes. Yeah. One day an independent gets the rights and wants to, like, make this Sundance appropriate and does, like, a really good, thick retelling. And so people can feel just, like, the gravity. It's such a beautiful book. Mm-hmm. But with the rules, Jonas, the thing about Jonas is not a rule breaker at all. And he thinks everything's good. He likes society the way it is. Jonas is very specific about his words. He doesn't make mistakes. Whenever he makes mistakes, he apologizes right away. The fact that he's their kind of gateway drug to, like, being rebellious in the movie, it's like, Jonas would never do that. Now, Jonas at 16, I don't know. The only rules that Jonas will break are ones that everybody else breaks. So, like, when Lily is going to get her bike at 9, Jonas, before she becomes a 9, he lets her ride his bike.
Right.
But the reason he does that is everybody lets their younger siblings ride their bike. No big deal, you know? So the only rules he breaks are rules that everybody breaks. Exactly.
And so therefore they're not, like, actual strict rules or whatever.
But again, action film, relatable teenager. He's 16 or 18. I don't know what graduation implies.
I'm leaning 18.
That's what I kind of go
I
for.
also think it's insane that at 12 he would become the director of games anyway, so...
Oh, you want to hear insane.
Oh, boy.
I was thinking about this the other day. At 12, you can be assigned to be a birth mother.
Yes.
What? Now, they're going to go through training. What is training for being a birth mother? Also, birth mothers, ready? They give birth 3 times. They are a birth mother for 3 years. Then they become a laborer. They're done. It's like a very lowly position to be a birth mother.
I was scared that they were going to make Fiona a birth mother.
She says she wants to be a birth mother, and her mom is like, whoa, no, that is a very lowly position. You do not want to be a birth mother. Like, what are you doing? You could be a nurturer. I was like, you don't want to be a birth mother. But I thought about it. I was like, these girls are becoming birth mothers at 12. Now, I don't think they go directly in at 12 because they still have school. And I think they have school for like a year or something, and then they move out of their training. But like Fiona, being a nurturer, she learns how to do release at 12. Yeah. Oh, when you sink in, my dissertation that I'm writing about this,
I can't wait to read it.
I'm gonna write out all the rules, all the pieces that so I connect all these pieces that she's thrown together to give you a full picture of what the community looks like. If I ever write it, I'll put that in the description. But okay, we've talked about Jasher and Giona. Let's talk about The Giver.
Yes.
And, you know, Rosemary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, to be totally transparent, I like Jeff Bridges as the giver.
I loved him.
I really enjoyed him.
I loved him.
Yeah.
The minute we saw him the first time when he was eyeing down Jonas in the ceremony to the last time we see him, I was like, Jeff Bridges slayed this. This was a very well acted film across the board.
I agree. I had no problems with that. There are other movies that I went, not so good. I never had that thought with The Giver. Technically, The Giver is supposed to look much older than they made Jeff Bridges look. That's the only real criticism that I would have is I'm like, okay, and they don't convey this, but the giver has all the memories, and he becomes visually much older than he is because he's so weighed down by all the pain he's carrying and all the suffering.
I just assumed it was because he was supposed to be like an old man ready to go out to pasture.
He explains that he's actually not that old. He looks that old. Yikes. Now, when he gives the memories to Jonas, they leave him. So he no longer has the memories. He transfers them. Like if I gave you my hairbrush, I would no longer have my hairbrush. And he starts feeling better. And so one of the reasons Jonas even gets painful memories is because he comes in and the giver's in pain. And Jonas is like, please give me that so I can relieve some of your pain.
Right.
They kind of attend to that when he's on the ground.
Right. Yeah. That was what I was going to say.
But I don't think they fully, but what are you going to do? That's a subtle one. I'm not upset at them. The house he lives in is completely inaccurate. It's beautiful. It's very visually interesting.
Loved it.
But the only thing that is accurate is the books. The books are the only thing. A household in this society has 3 books in it. It has a book of rules, a directory of departments, and one other book. Oh, I wrote it down and I can't find it. It might be a dictionary or something like that. So when Jonas sees all the books, he's like, oh, there's so many more rules and departments than I thought. Oh. He doesn't even realize that they could be anything other than
else. That. Yeah.
Oh, God, I will say, when Jonas goes into the giver's house, he never closes the door. That's insane. Jonas would never leave a door ajar. Are you kidding? It bugged the life out of me. And to the point where I started watching, is he going to do it? Nope, he didn't do it. And in the end, when they come in, I'm pretty sure she leaves the door open too. And I went, no one's going to close that door. No one needs to close that door. That's fine. Anyway, I had no problems with the giver in the character himself. Rosemary, on the other hand, what did you think about Rosemary?
I don't know if Rosemary existed in the book. Okay, Rosemary exists in the book.
In concept.
Well, so it's Taylor Swift.
So is she the most important character? Yes.
I think she's supposed to set the scene that we understand that this job sucks. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing she was euthanized.
She was released, yes.
For freaking out.
No, she requested it.
But because of what she was learning.
Because of what she was learning, yes.
And it sounded like he gave her, in the movie, he gave her too much too soon.
Yeah, she only made it 5 weeks.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
5 weeks of seeing the memories of mankind and you want to die?
Well, and
yikes.
He even says that he watched her release. She asked to inject herself.
Yikes. So was she actually his daughter?
She is his daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And daughter by assignment?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they don't specify that. It's always been my assumption, but I
probably is,
there's
right?
no way they changed the rules for him in that way.
Yeah. No, so I would imagine because of his position, he was uniquely, or he was in a space where he could love her.
He does love her, yes.
And so I don't know. Obviously, the movie only gave us the shadow of Rosemary and the piano playing and the da 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 da. Thanks, Taylor Swift. Whatever it was, but so I guess that's all I've got for you.
Yeah. Yep. It was funny because before you watched it, you're like, I'm so excited. Rosemary's going to be the. We were like,
Well,
I was joking with you.
I
like,
was
we
kidding.
Knew we were
I know.
joking that Rosemary was going to be this huge deal. But I was like, at one point I went, how do I not lie to her that she's almost irrelevant at a certain point?
Right.
She's not irrelevant, but she's a side kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And but I think her side is still like, how long did Jonas make it before he escaped and maybe is dead?
Yes, a year. He made it a whole year.
That's still not a long time when you think about what he's supposed to be receiving and then what his job is after.
That's a good point.
Like,
to go through everything he went through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's I can't even imagine. I
know. And I was thinking about that too. I'm like, there's been receivers before. These people survived it and kept going.
And she's kind of like the foreshadowing for him. Like, we can't handle another mistake like we had last time. And he still ends up being probably a mistake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I would say he's a mistake. And I think the movie really goes into that.
But is it purposeful? Like, I feel like I don't remember in the book, obviously, because it's been probably 20 years.
Probably 20 years.
Since I've touched it. But in the story, it seems like Jeff Bridges was very, very seriously cultivating this rebellion in Jonas.
I'd say yes and no. I'd say yes, he does, but not for as long as they do in the movie. I thought in the movie it made it kind of seem like maybe it was in his mind, like he had this map and things like that. I don't know. In the book, it is the story. So basically, it's Jonas learning about Rosemary and her release, and Jonas asking the question, what would happen if I fell in the river? Because there's a baby that falls in the river, a 4-year-old. And so he's like, what if I fell in the river? Like, because the rule is they cannot ask to be released, the receiver. He's like, so I can't be released, but what if I fell in? And that's when the giver starts going, what would happen if you fell in? And that's where the plan starts cultivating for them. But there's no map. There's no elsewhere. There's no triangle of stones. You know?
Yeah.
There's no walk through that triangle of stones that did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, what I thought was going to happen was Asher was going to fly him over the triangle of stones and, like, save him and not throw him into a river.
I thought the triangle of stones was going to be the border or something.
I don't even think I saw the triangle of stones. I looked for it.
Yeah, he walks through it, and then he keeps walking. And I'm like, so what was even the point of that?
How long were they walking? Did they have food? How'd that baby live?
I'll tell you about that.
Great.
But yes, I was so I think I've read it twice in my adult life before this time. And when I saw the credits, I was like, oh, Taylor Swift is in it. What? You know, because they're like, oh my God. They were like, she's Rosemary. I'm like, who on earth is Rosemary? That's how much I didn't retain her name. I knew about the Giver's daughter, but I didn't retain her name. And when she is released, all the memories that she holds get given back to the community. So her 5 weeks of memories, when she's released, go back to the community.
Oh, no.
Yes.
That's why we think Jonas is dead.
And that's the whole point of why Jonas leaves. So when Rosemary was released, the Giver was so upset he didn't help anybody. So the community just suffered with these memories. And he thinks to himself, if Jonas leaves, Jonas has collected a year of memories. He can give all those memories back to the community, and now the Giver will help them. And they can help the community grow, mature. And so that's the whole reason they want Jonas to escape, is to release the year of memories that he has.
Does he take the baby with him when he leaves?
Will take Gabe with him, yes.
Does Gabe die then, do we think?
So here's the thing she doesn't say.
Yeah.
I think Gabe and Jonas die.
I'm fairly certain. I know I sent you a very vague and intriguing text message about how I think I understand why it didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
And we can get into that now. We can get into that later, whatever you want.
We'll get into it later.
Okay.
But I agree with you. That's why I started Googling, does he die? Because my second read in the last couple of years, I was like, man, That is so painful. I'm like, does
Yeah.
he die? So, because I don't want this to go on for 50 hours, and I could,
no, we're close.
I'm going to just lay out the plot of the book for you so you can see maybe how different it is or how simple it is compared to the movie. So, first we meet Jonas and we meet the community, and we just follow him as he's getting ready for the ceremony. Then Jonas gets assigned as the receiver. He begins to train as the giver. He starts feeling isolated and frustrated because he can't share with anybody about his training. He can't share his experience, and he starts to see how ignorant everybody is of the real depth of feeling. He does try to transfer colors to people, like Asher and his dad and his sister. He does try to transfer colors to them. But in the book, and this is another reason I'm like, I get how people could overread this. In the book, in order to transfer the memories, Jonas lifts up his tunic and the giver puts his hands on his back while he's laying on a bed. So it's this old man putting his hands on the back of a 12-year-old. It gave me in my modern sense the ick.
Yeah, I don't love it.
I do love it. There are things that I don't
Sure.
love that are done. But when he transfers, so when they did the wrist thing, I was like, why didn't you just use shoulders? Like, you could just use shoulders,
Yeah.
but okay. Oh, also, I don't know if you noticed, did you see the little mark on the
That
wrist?
he and Gabriel had.
Yeah, that is in lieu of them having blue eyes. So, or pale eyes. So there are the giver, Gabriel, Jonas, and one other citizen who's a young girl. They all have pale eyes, and it's maybe an indicator that they can see beyond. It's not guaranteed, but Jonas notices, and when they're talking about replacing him, they're like, well, when I leave, what are they going to do? And he's like, well, there's a 4 that has blue eyes. And he was like, yeah, but she's still a 4. They wouldn't be able to transition her quick enough.
Yeah.
So he does try to transfer colors, but it's not like this wrist-grabbing, what do you see, Fiona?
Right.
So, okay. Next, baby Gabe moves into the house because he's not sleeping, and he's a fussy baby. And Jonas's father is the nurturer, and he's a sweetie. He's not the nervous wreck that they had him be. He's a little sweetie. Like he calls Lily Billy, and Jonah Bona. It's really cute. Or Jonas Bonus. My cousin's name
Yeah, I
is
remember
Jonah.
Jonas Bonus, actually.
Jonas Bonus and Lily Billy. Jonas also stops taking his pill.
Right.
Which is very pivotal. And I was like, why didn't you guys just stick with the pill instead of making this like, take the apple and put your blood on it and then put it on? I'm like, that's a lot. You could have taken a pill.
That's a good point.
Anyway, father ends up telling him at dinner that he's got twins and one of the twins is going to be released. So they do this. And Jonas is telling the giver, and the giver's like, man, I wish they wouldn't release people. And Jonas is like, I don't get it. Giver tells him about Rosemary. And then he's like, you should watch the release of the twin. And so he has Jonas on a screen watch the release of the twin. And Jonas is gutted. He's done.
Yeah, no,
It's over for him. So that's when they start planning the escape. And they actually make a plan to take 2 weeks and store up food and collect food and fill Jonas with memories of strength so that when he leaves, he can take Gabe. But it gets cut short. Or no, he's not taking Gabe. He's actually just going to leave on his own. The giver is going to get a car, because they have a car, access to a car. He's going to get a car to go to another community, store Jonas in the back, and then they're just going to release Jonas into another community or something along the way. But father comes home, says Gabe's going to get released. Jonas leaves in the middle of the night.
with Gabe.
So what he does is he steals food that is going to be taken away with the morning trash. So basically, he just collects food that he can that's left on people's stoops, and he takes Gabe out. And he gets past the river, he goes through fields, he goes through forests, and then he makes it to a snowy area. And by this point, he's sprained his ankle. Him and Gabe are starving. They've been able to eat a little bit of fish and a little bit of berries, but they're really at their end. And he is feeling the memories leave. So he's losing the memories. And he's transferring what he can to Gabe, but everything else is going away, which is kind of indicating it's starting to go back to the community. And at the end, he gets on top of this hill, this snowy hill, and he knows the hill. And he goes to the sled because he knows the sled from his memories.
Right.
And he gets on the sled and he goes downhill and he's in front of the house that he sees in his memories. And that's the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he died because it would make sense to me if he froze and his mind went to the memory of the sled. And that is why I think he died. If not, she has to explain how he had a memory of a sled in a specific place and then also got on the sled in the specific place. You know what I mean?
Do we think she explains it in one of the 3 sequels?
She may. I saw somewhere that, and he could have passed out. I saw somewhere that she may have explained it. I opened up the back because it had it in Gathering Blue, the next one. She may say that Jonas is still alive. I will say this.
I'm on a Wikipedia page.
What does Wikipedia say?
So I'm on a Reddit thread.
Oh,
and then I went to Wikipedia. On the Reddit thread, there's an interview in the back of Gathering Blue where she says something along the lines of, the boy with blue eyes can be Jonas or not, whatever you prefer. Mm-hmm. And then The Messenger was published, and the boy with blue eyes goes by a different name. And then in Sun, the last one, it's Claire, the birth mother of Gabriel, searching for Gabriel, and she finds him and Jonas.
Oh, so he's alive.
Unless this is someone else.
No, hey, I'm sorry that we started off with me saying
No,
I thought he died.
I don't know. I like it being open to interpretation. Yeah. I also wonder how good these sequels are. Anyway.
It's funny. I just started Gathering Blue, and I'm only on chapter 1, and I'm like, it's not The Giver.
I really took us off course there. Sorry.
No, it's
Bring
fine.
us back.
It's fine.
Bring us home. Where are we? How much more do you got?
We're right at the end.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Everything. So basically, that's what happens. Everything related to Fiona, any plot line with Fiona, really. Anything with the chief elder, being like worried. I think they mildly imply that she knows Rosemary and Rosemary is important to her. Like maybe they were married or something. I don't know. Asher being in a plane, the map, the Triangle of Stone, like none of that happens. So it's not an action book.
Right.
The way I saw the story writing process was that like the studio got the rights. Mm-hmm. They hired a script writer, and the script writer wrote like a beautifully accurate version of it, because there are things in this movie that are exactly, even verbally correct. And the studio was like,
needs a plane.
Let's add some more kissing, Yeah. And so the writer was like, I'll throw in Fiona. We'll expand on Fiona. That's fine. It'll just take up a little more room. And then the studio's like, cool. What about a bad guy? And they're like, oh, well, the chief elder, we'll just throw in a little bit more, expand it a little bit more. And they're like, cool. How about chase scenes? And they just keep doing this process where they keep expanding. And I felt that almost it moved too quickly for me. And that's also because I read The Giver, which is very slow, but I was like, man, we are zooming through this story. It felt a little too compact because they were trying to do so much outside. That's how I think the whole thing
that makes sense.
Down. But what are your final thoughts? What's your impressions? Where are you now?
I'm really excited to reread the book. I have a feeling I will not love it like I want to. And I do think it goes back to lack of explanation of things. Or like, so what I thought of is there's a scene from The Office where Kevin says, why say lot words when you can say few? Like, and I was like, that's kind of what I feel like she did. Like, I'm like, you could, a little bit more maybe could have gone a long way. I don't need a lot more. Like, don't spoon feed it to me. But like, you even saying, you've read it 3 times as an adult and you're like, they don't really mention the wand, but you know it. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why would I be afraid of it then?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yes, things that I picked up on my third read because I sat and annotated.
Give me stakes, baby.
Yeah.
And so I feel like maybe I didn't realize there were stakes in this book when I read it as a kid. Like it didn't, like I was like, what? What are we escaping from? Sounds fine.
I think it would be a hard book. Even me, like, I'm like, how is this a kid's book?
No.
Like how did they say, yeah, this is good children's literature? Like it's a good book, but a child's because I use the word children as child, you know.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if you don't. There's also like you grow up with something and you love it, or you know it hit you at the right time and you love it, and someone else might be like, it was good. You know, it's interesting. So
no, I mean, I think it has its place. I think it kind of, like, we've had books before it that are also futuristic. Like Fahrenheit 451 is older than that book and is all about burning books and keeping people ignorant and whatever. Like, we've got all these things that have like culminated into what we have now in dystopian stuff. And I think leading into the next book we're going to do, The Giver is a 10-year-old blueprint to Uglies. We're talking about conformity. We're talking about sameness. We're talking about controlling people. Like, Uglies just does it in a more brutal way.
Yeah, I get that.
You know?
I get what you're saying.
But, like, this is probably a very modern dystopian novel. If we really, like, look at it at its core, she just didn't do some of the violence to the same extent that we see now.
Yes. It's very timeless.
Yeah.
And it is more, it's childlike.
Yes.
You know, and that is my kind of final thought. I wrote the little thing. In the end, for me, the book is really pensive, deep, and slow-paced. And the movie is lighter and faster. And I appreciate the movie's attention to the message of how important it is to be able to express yourself, to feel things, how important love is. To me, The Giver is an exploration of maturity and why we have to move from the surface level of childhood to the depth of adulthood. As children, we see reality through a flatter lens because we don't have enough experience to know any better. But with age, we go through pain and loss and grief, and it weighs very heavily on us, but it deepens our experience of life. So it's like the philosophy, you can't feel joy if you never feel pain. And so that's, for me, what propels Jonas forward, this realization that everyone's living a half-life because the world they live in is so safe. And he really begins to believe that it's worth risking his life so that the people he loves can feel the richness of a deeply emotional existence. Yeah.
It's incredible. Incredible.
Thank you. But what you were saying about the innocence, it's this book where they deal with these very intense things, but the whole thing is an 11-year-old's perspective.
Yeah, he's too young to be given, like, no wonder, but it's also like, instead of reevaluating anything when what happened with Rosemary did, they just like, better not make that mistake again. And it's like, well, maybe the mistake is
the whole thing,
but also like the giver shouldn't have only given her suffering and whatever she pushed for. There's lessons there too, but like, maybe we don't put all of this on the shoulders of a 12-year-old.
Thank you. I forgot. It's through the perspective of 12. I always think
11
he's 11
is close enough.
Yeah.
It's the same age.
Ethel's mad in the comments.
Ethel,
okay?
Stop it. We're doing our best. You witch.
But yes, I agree. So
yeah,
that is it. I worked so
hard
to keep it condensed for you guys.
No, you did a good job. There's some fluff in there. There's some stuff, it'll probably end up, we're at an hour 13. It'll probably end up in a crisp 45.
Yeah. A tight 45.
A tight 45.
So that is our show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm talking to them, not you.
Yeah,
this is our time together. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for sitting through the whole thing and being here. Please leave in the comments, if you, what do you think of this book? I want to hear opinions. I love talking about it. If you like dystopian novels, the next episode is going to be Uglies.
Yes.
So if you guys come in, and we've already released that episode, so like sometime closer to the end of mid-2025, watch that next.
Watch it.
The algorithm will be happy. Listen to it next. Again, the Spotify or the Apple, they'll be happy that you're listening to more. And Uglies I had a fun time with that one.
I can't wait.
So
I can't wait.
Yeah, leave us a comment. Let us know if you want to see anything else, if you want anything covered. Watch something else we do or whatever. Spend time on YouTube. They like that.
Have fun on the internet.
Yeah, with that, I'm Ariel.
I'm Chelsea.
You're awesome.
Keep reading.
Keep watching. And we'll see you next time. I have it in my script to say it because I liked when you said it.